this coming. I think that this is sort of a natural progression of reactions to regulatory frameworks coming from all around the world. In some ways, this is good. I think that some of there's been a lot of over moderation by Facebook over the years, by Meta over the years. But at the same time, I think that targeting misinformation is troubling because one of the key things about the fact-checking programs globally is that they're utilized for geopolitical conflict, for situations of war, for breaking news. And I think that in those situations, fact-checking is a really vital commodity. I mean, I think that over-moderation in part happened because of the pandemic. We saw the withdrawal of content moderators because of, restrictions around moderating content in the Philippines and places like that. And so we saw, over-application of automation, which really just doesn't work well in many situations, particularly those involving text-based content. I've got mixed feelings about it. I think that on the one hand, we are going to see a bit more freedom. I've always advocated for more free expression on these platforms because I recognize, the history of them, the fact, the role that they played almost a decade and a half ago, in some of the uprisings around the world. But at the same time, I think that we're in a different era now, and people do have expectations around safety on these platforms. And of course, we're seeing, these expectations coming from governments as well, the UK, the EU, et cetera. And so I'm optimistic, but a little bit cautious. I think that this is a bit politically motivated, but I also think that there has been a huge push worldwide for these changes to happen. The oversight board, for example, with Meta was an interesting experiment, and obviously, it's not going to continue in its current form, but there will be implications from it. And I think we've seen that Meta is not great at adjudicating all of these things. And so I think that, maybe it was a long time coming, but on the other hand, there's definitely a bit of a political wind happening here. Yeah, so I think misinformation is rampant on platforms. And what I worry about is that by taking away fact checking, we're going to see more regulatory pushes from outside of the US. That's not necessarily a good thing. We want fact checking as a response to misinformation rather than state censorship. And so that's really where the concern comes in, that when we're talking about serious issues, whether it's health misinformation or geopolitical misinformation, that we have experts weighing in on these things. But at the same time, we don't want people to be faced with experts all the time on everything that they say. And, so I think that yeah, I think we're going to see some changes going forward.